بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. So inshallah we're going to start lesson 16 today. Lesson 16. And in lesson 16, we're going to learn a lot of different things. But first, we are going to review some background information that we need before the lesson. Okay, so in our studies, we have studied different types of asma'ul ishara. Okay, asma'ul ishara. These are the particles of highlighting or pointing out something. And from these, we've learned hada, we've learned hadihi, right? We've learned dhalika, and we've learned tilka. So for example, hada, we would say hada talibun. For hadihi, we would say hadihi talibatun. In order to turn these into plurals, to use the plural form of it, we learned that we use ha'ula'i. Ha'ula'i. Ha'ula'i means these. Ha'ula'i means these. So for example, you could say ha'ula'i tullabun. Or you could say ha'ula'i talibatun. Equally, right, we've learned dhalika and tilka. So dhalika, you could say dhalika talib, dhalika talibun. Or you could say tilka talibatun, talibatun. Now, for the plural version of dhalika and tilka, it is what? Ulaika. Ulaika. Ulaika means those. So for example, you could say, so ulaika tullabun. And you can also say those female students, ulaika talibatun. So we could say ha'ula'i or ulaika. Now ha'ula'i and ulaika, they are for things that have aql, things that have intellect, right? So they are for aqil. Aqil. They're for things that have intellect. Now we're going to learn something new. We can use the same asma'ul ishara, right, for different nouns. For example, hada baytun. هذا بيت. هذه سيارة. ذلك بيت. إن تلك سيارة. Right? These nouns that I'm mentioning right here, سيارة and بيت, they are referred to as غير عاقل. This means they don't have intellect, or they are unintelligent. So up here we mentioned that in order to turn these things plural, we use ha'ula'i and ula'ika. However, with غير عاقل, it's different. the plurals for غير عاقل are treated as feminine singular. Feminine singular. For example, right here, we have بيت. What's the plural of بيت? It's بيوت. In order to refer to the plural version of غير عاقل, things without intellect, we use هذه. We don't use هؤلاء, and we don't use أولئك. We use هذه. So in my example, right, how would we say these are cars? سيارة, that means a car, right? That's a singular version. In order to turn it plural, we say سيارات. Remember سيارات, the sound, feminine plurals, and in an atun ending. So this means cars. This is plural. Now, how do we say these are cars? This is غير عاقل, so we're treating it as a feminine singular. So we say هذه سيارات. And so what that translates to is these are cars. You see? We can do the same thing with ذلك and تلك. So for example, you say ذلك بيت. In order to transform it into a plural, yes, we know the plural of bait, which is buyut. But now, this is غير عاقل. And so it's treated as a feminine singular. Would we use ذلك for it? Would we use تلك for it? Would we use أولئك for it? Or will we use هؤلاء for it? Think about it. Which one would we use? If you said tilka, then that's right. Tilka. Tilka buyutun. We would not say ulaika. Another example, right? I'll use sayyaratun again. Sayyaratun. Now, if we turn sayyaratun into a plural, it's sayyaratun. But now, how would we say those are cars? How would we say that? Would we use ذلك, تلك, أولئك, or هؤلاء? Again, we would use tilka because why? Cars and a car, it's غير عاقل. It is unintelligent. Therefore, the plural is treated as a feminine singular. The plural of غير عاقل is treated as a feminine singular. So we would say tilka. Let me give you a couple more examples to get you used to this concept. هذا طالب جديد. هو من أمريكا. So this is a new student. He's from America. If I was to transform this into the plural version, right? If I was to transform this into the plural version, I would say, so these are new students. They are from America. Here I use هؤلاء because we're talking about students. Are students عاقل or غير عاقل? Students are عاقل. They have intelligence, right? Things that are عاقل are what? humans, angels, and jinn. So that's why we're using هؤلاء when we're referring to the plural version. هؤلاء طلاب جدد هم من أمريكا. On the opposite side, right? On the other hand, let's talk about the new thing that we're learning today. So this is a new book. It's from America. In order to make it into a plural, this is the sentence that it would turn into. It would turn into, so هذه كتب جدد هي من أمريكا. These are new books. They are from America. Why did I use هذه and هي? It's because books, are they عاقل or غير عاقل? They're غير عاقل. They're unintelligent things, right? So عاقل, it can be animals, objects, or concepts. That's why I used هذه, because I treat it as a feminine singular. I treated the plural as feminine singular since it's غير عاقل. If this is confusing somewhat, don't worry, we're going to do more practice in the lesson, inshallah. Let's move on to the lesson. Bismillah. So it says, الدرس السادس عشر. Lesson 16. Okay, now we have a conversation between Al-Mudarris and Muhammad. Very short conversation, you see here. This is the length of the conversation. So Al-Mudarris يقول لمن هذه الأقلام يا محمد? Who do these pens belong to? يا محمد. Now look, we use هذه for أقلام. أقلام is غير عاقل. It's a plural. جمع, meaning it's a plural. So to refer to it, we treat it as a feminine singular. هي لي يا أستاذ. They belong to me, يا أستاذ. And look, once again, هي, referring to the pens. They belong to me, يا أستاذ. هي جميلة جدا. They are so beautiful. They're very beautiful. وهذه الكتب الجديدة أهي لك? And these new books, are they belonging to you? Now look here, look. We're talking about kutub now. We're talking about books. And so here and here, you see this is feminine singular and this is feminine singular. We use it to refer to the plural, unintelligent, غير عاقل books. لا هي لحامد. هي لحامد. No, they belong to Hamid. أين دفاتركم يا إخوان? Where are your notebooks يا إخوان? هي هنا على هذا المكتب. They are here on this desk. So that is a lesson. تمارين. Ponder the following examples. And so these examples I've already done them. So singular, هذا طالب جديد. This is a new student. هو من أمريكا. And now to turn that into a plural, we say هؤلاء طلاب جدد. These are new students. هم من أمريكا. Just like normal. However, now we're going to refer to something that's غير عاقل. Look. غير عاقل. هذا كتاب جديد. هو من أمريكا. This is a new book. It is from America. And now, to make this into a plural, we say هذه كتب جديدة هي من أمريكا. So we refer to the kutub as a feminine singular. So هذه كتب جديدة هي من أمريكا. These are new books and they are from America. All right. So the next page. We have a lot of stuff to do on the next page. So the next page is saying basically to, meaning turn the mubtada subject in every sentence that follows into its plural form. So for example, it says, هذا بيت. The plural, هذه بيوت. Number one says, هذا نجم. We say, هذه نجوم. هذه نجوم. هذه نجوم. And just to give you some extra benefits, I'll try to make a sentence with each one so you can see how it works. So for example, نجوم, you could say, النجوم الجميلة في السماء. The beautiful stars are in the sky. Now you see, look, نجوم, I'm using the feminine singular adjective to refer to it. That's why it has a ta marbuta. Right. So next sentence, it says هذا درس. Yeah. هذا درس. Now to transform it into a plural, we say هذه دروس. هذه دروس. And to give you a nice sentence, هذه الدروس قصيرة. These lessons are short. Next one says هذا قلم. So to refer to a plural, we say هذه أقلام. هذه أقلام. And to give you a nice sentence, you could say هل عندكم أقلام? Do you all have pens? And to reply, you could say أقلامي مكسورة. My pens are broken. The next one says هذا باب. So you would say هذه أبواب. أبواب. And a nice sentence could be أبواب المسجد مفتوحة. The doors of the masjid are open. Once again, look, the doors and maftuhatun. I'm using maftuhatun to refer to the doors. And maftuhatun is a feminine singular. Because why? Plurals that are غير عاقل, they're treated as feminine singular. Okay, next one, it says هذا نهر. هذا نهر. نهر means river. So to say rivers, these are rivers, we say هذه. We say هذه أنهار. These are rivers. And so you can say, good sentence would be أنهار العالم طويلة. The rivers of the world are long. The next sentence says هذا جبل. هذا جبل. Jabal means mountain. هذه جبال. And a nice sentence you could use is, you could say الجبال بالمدينة المنورة جميلة. The mountains at Medina are beautiful. The next sentence says هذا كلب. This is a dog. How do we say these are dogs? We say هذه كلاب. هذه كلاب. These are dogs. And a good sentence is الكلاب في الشارع. The next one says هذا بحر. بحر means ocean. So how do you say these are oceans? We say هذه بحار. بحار. And a good sentence is البحار الكبيرة شديدة. What does it mean? It means the big seas, or you could say the deep seas, are severe. So the big oceans or the big seas are severe. Next sentence, this is هذا كتاب. To say these are books, we say هذه كتب. And a nice sentence you could use is كتبي في الفصل هناك. My books are in the classroom over there. And the next one, it says هذا حمار. And I just say, so that means this is a donkey. I say هذه حمر. These are donkeys. حمر. And so here it's showing us the plural versions of common nouns we've already learned. Now حمر, the plural version for donkey, has another plural. Another plural is حمير. حمير. Both of these mean donkeys. The plural. And so a nice sentence you would say الحمر قوية. So the donkeys are strong. قوية. قوي. قوية. The next sentence, it says هذا سرير. And now we would say هذه سرر. A nice sentence you could use is في غرفة النوم لي سرر صغيرة. So in the bedroom, that's غرفة النوم لي سرر صغيرة. I have small beds. The next one says هذا دفتر. And now we would say هذه دفاتر. دفاتر. These are notebooks. هذه دفاتر لكم يا إخوان. Are these notebooks belonging to you, oh my brothers, or oh brothers? The next sentence, it says هذا مكتب. Now you would say هذه مكاتب. These are desks. So we say مكاتب الطلاب كبيرة في هذه الجامعة. The desks of the students are big in this university. We're using كبيرة. Why? Because it refers to the desks, which are غير آقل. غير آقل. The next one says هذا فندق. فندق. فندق means hotel. And so we would say هذه فنادق. These are hotels. And a good sentence you could say is أي فنادق رخيصة في الرياض. Which hotels are cheap in Riyadh? The next sentence says هذه ساعة. This is a watch. And we would say هذه ساعات. These are watches. A good sentence you could say is ساعاتي ساعاتي هي من فرنسا. فرنسا. My watches, they are from France. The next sentence is هذه سيارة. To turn it into a plural, we say هذه سيارات. These are cars. And so a nice sentence would be سيارات في الشارع. The next sentence says هذه طائرة. And to say these are airplanes, we say هذه طائرات. طائرات جميلة في المطار. So now look, ذَلِكَ نَجْمٌ. ذَلِكَ نَجْمٌ. To turn into a plural, we say تِلْكَ نُجُومٌ. So a sentence could be تِلْكَ. You could say تِلْكَ النُّجُومُ بعيدة. تِلْكَ النُّجُومُ بعيدة. Those stars are far. And the last one, it says تِلْكَ سَيَّارَةٌ. تِلْكَ سَيَّارَةٌ. And a good sentence would be تِلْكَ السَّيَّارَةُ مِنَ الْيَابَانِ. So I hope you understood that exercise. The next exercise is very similar. We just got to choose between هذا, هذه, or هؤلاء for each of these words. So رجل, that means a man. So we would say هذا. هذا رجل. رجال, we would say هؤلاء رجال. For كلب, we say هذا كلب. For كلاب, do we say هذا, هذه, or هؤلاء? We say هذه because it's غير آقل. The غير آقل plural are referred to with the feminine singular, as the feminine singular. What about durus? That would also be هذه. What about مدرسون? We would say هؤلاء مدرسون. What about أخواتي, my sisters? We would say هؤلاء أخواتي. What about أقلام? We would say هذه أقلام. كتاب, we say هذا كتاب. سيارات, سيارات, we say هذه سيارات. سيارة, a car, we say هذه سيارة. This is a car. The last one, number 10, هذه سيارات, that says these are cars. These are cars. And هذه سيارة means this is a car. حمار, we would say هذا حمار. This is a donkey. What about كتب? We would say هذه كتب. What about حمر? That's the plural of donkey. It's donkeys. Would we say هذا, هؤلاء, or هذه? We would say هذه because it's غير عاقل. غير عاقل, that means animals, objects, or concepts. عين. عين. Would it be هذا عين, هؤلاء عين, or هذه عين? We would say it was هذه عين. Because عين is feminine. Why is it feminine? Because all the body parts that come into are feminine. Therefore, we say هذه. طبيبة. That's easy. هذه. What about طبيبات? It's not هذه. It's not هذه. Because this is عاقل. This is عاقل. So it would be هؤلاء. The next exercise is the same, but we're doing it with ذلك, تلك, and أولئك. فطالب. Do we say ذلك طالب, تلك طالب, or أولئك طالب? We say ذلك طالب. What about طلاب? Do we say that? We say أولئك طلاب because it's عاقل. It's not غير عاقل. Next one is نجم. Do we say ذلك نجم, تلك نجم, or أولئك نجم? ذلك نجم. Perfect. What about نجوم? We'd say tilka nujumun because it's غير عاقل and it's jam'un. It is a plural. And غير عاقل plurals are treated as feminine singular. Bintun. Is it ذلك bintun, tilka bintun, or إليك bintun? Tilka bintun. That is a daughter. What about banatun? أولئك banatun. Those are daughters. Darrajatun. Darrajatun. Do you remember what darrajatun means? It means bike. Like an actual bike. We would say tilka darrajatun. What about darrajatun? Tilka darrajatun. What about sarirun? Dhalika sarirun. That is a bed. What about sururun? Tilka sururun. What about dajajatun? Chicken or hen. Tilka dajajatun. That is a chicken. What about mudarrisatun? Once again, tilka mudarrisatun. What about mudarrisatun? We would say ulaika. Ulaika mudarrisatun. Because why? It is aqil. It is aqil. It's not غير عاقل. What about hajun? A pilgrim. ذلك حاج. What about حجاج? Pilgrims. أولئك حجاج لأنهم عاقل. Because they are عاقل. مسجد. ذلك مسجد. What about سيارات? تلك سيارات. Those are cars. And so that is that exercise completed. The end of the lesson is going over what I introduced in the beginning. So here it says أسماء الإشارة للقريب. هذا طالب. هؤلاء طلاب. هذه طالبة. هؤلاء طالبات. ذلك طالب. أولئك طلاب. تلك طالبة. أولئك طالبات. And you see here, these are all عاقل. Now the next set, we can see it says غير عاقل. These are غير عاقل. So هذا بيت. هذه بيوت. These are houses. هذه سيارة. هذه سيارات. These are cars. This is a car. These are cars. ذلك بيت. That is a house. تلك بيوت. Those are houses. تلك سيارة. That is a car. تلك سيارات. Those are cars. I hope you understood this lesson. If you didn't, inshallah, you'll review it. And we move on to the next lesson. بإذن الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.